Good morning. Today we welcome Dr. Rama Jayasundar, who is currently a professor and head of Department of NMR and MRI Facility, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. She is a physicist with a PhD in NMR from Cambridge University. She is also a professionally qualified medical doctor in Ayurveda. She has vast experience in experimental and clinical magnetic resonance imaging, that is MRI and MR spectroscopy. Her expertise also includes indigenous development of low-cost MR coil, RF pulse sequence programming. Her MR research interests span wide applications in neuroscience. Her current research interests are NMR metabolomics of medicinal plants used in Ayurveda and their chemosensory signatures. Using MR to assess Ayurvedic therapeutic response in stroke, MR applications in Ayurveda and yoga, scientific validation of Ayurvedic treatments, and scientific explanations for Ayurveda. We welcome Dr. Rama.
Yes.
Good morning and welcome to Indic Academy, Dr. Rama Jayasundar ji. So we can start this conversation with your areas of expertise. So could you talk about your academic background and specifically with your role in Ayurveda and your current role with your institution aims in New Delhi?
So let me first thank you for having me on this platform. And talking of my academic background, I'm basically a physicist. I did my BSc and MSc in physics from Chennai, and my PhD was from University of Cambridge, UK. My specialization was NMR, so the expansion of that is nuclear magnetic resonance. And what we now know as MRI, that is magnetic resonance imaging, is actually a part of the technique of NMR. So for a good 15 to 16 years, I was actually involved in scientific research in MR, basically involved in technology development, software development, and also applications of the technique of MR in neuroscience and brain disorders. So it was at this point in time that I felt I should have a degree in medicine. I should do medicine myself. So I have an insider's knowledge of the field I was trying to apply the technique of MR for. So in fact, I did do medicine, but it was a 5.5 years medical course in Ayurveda rather than MBBS. I did get admission for MBBS. I opted for Ayurveda. And one interesting information is that I was 41 years old when I enrolled myself for this undergraduate medical degree. So needless to say, my research expertise and experience in the field of MR and as an experimental and theoretical scientist is coming in very handy to my current work in Ayurveda, be it in understanding the science and rationale behind Ayurvedic understanding of health and disease, or in doing research in Ayurveda. Yeah. So that's in a nutshell.
Wonderful. In one of your earlier talks, Dr. Rama, you have spoken about how our understanding of the body structure will, influence diagnosis and subsequent treatment. So the next question that I would like to ask is the potential of Ayurveda as a medical system fully comprehended by the modern Indian? Do we see beyond the diagnosis aspect? And Ayurveda consists of 8 disciplines, which I will not go into detail, but we are not fully, the common man is not fully aware of the different aspects of Ayurveda. So, what has been your experience in this area?
Obviously they are not aware, there's no doubt about it, but I would like to look at the common man into two groups. One is the educated ones, the other is the uneducated ones. When we talk of the later, the second group, they will go to a system of medicine which will give them the relief. And what system they will go to will depend not on the nuanced understanding of the science and the various aspects of it, but they are more pragmatic. It will be decided by the financial condition and where they are and what kind of facilities are available and so on. But it is the first group, which is this educated ones, and they probably are the ones who would make informed choice, and they are the ones who should have the kind of information that you have outlined, but they do not, and there is definitely a lack of awareness, and there are lots of assumptions and misconceptions about Ayurveda. And yes, I think one of the biggest challenges Ayurveda faces these days is not scientific validation and research. As if you do a Google, what are the challenges faced by Ayurveda? It will say lack of scientific validation, there is no evidence, and so on. But I would think that it is lack of awareness. So it's a very big problem, and there is no comprehension of this neither with the educated people, even people who have an intuitive belief in Ayurveda. I find that there is a lot of lack of awareness. So this is something that needs to be tackled and handled, on a priority basis, I feel.
One of the issues that comes with this is the image that is portrayed, like you have earlier pointed out. Like when you talk about state of the art in modern medicine, we are shown images of very high tech diagnostic centers, doctors doing surgery. But when we are shown asked to describe Ayurveda, we are shown rishis under a tree, or at the most, surgery which was done long ago, and we are expected to romanticize an ancient science. So, how do we change this image?
See, all this falls into the ambit of creating awareness. And what is the perception people have? I don't blame the people, because, on one hand, we have the high tech, science and technology backed and the research and development backed modern system. So we are all part of, we are all seeing this happening, and scientists like me, we have contributed this. We are, part of this kind of research that happens, right? And on the other hand, we are talking of a system which is 5,000 years old. So the skepticism is natural. It should be there. There is absolutely no need to romanticize. Not everything that belongs to our past need to be romanticized. And this is something that deals with the health of the people. So healthy skepticism is very, very important. But skepticism should be after you have the basic information. Skepticism without the basic information and with ignorance is very dangerous, which is one of the major problems that Ayurveda is facing. Now, that aside, putting that aside, see, the other aspect is, when what is science? Technology and instrumentation is not science, right? So you have mathematics where no technology is required. You have theoretical physics, you have theoretical chemistry, which is all, doesn't require technology. I mean, what kind of technology were there when Einstein came up with his theories, right? So technology is not what makes something scientific. So just because there were no diagnostic technologies the way we see it today, like MRI or CT or X-ray, just because they were not there 5,000 years ago, it does not, make a subject unscientific. So people should have clarity of thought and what is called science, and they should have this appreciation that whether there is a logic, whether there is any logical thinking in the way things have been carried out. So if you look at Ayurveda, Tarka Shastra was one of the cornerstone for Ayurveda. And again, I come back to this lack of awareness. So people should have the information with them. How did the system develop? Did it develop in a haphazard way, or did it develop in a systematic way? And were there any documentation? Were there any experiments? Have the observations been documented? And what has come out of the observation? So when you have observations, there should be a theory which comes out of it, or a statistic, something, right? So these are not the people are not informed of these. So which is why, so a combination of all these has made people suspicious. Being suspicious, I feel, is there's nothing wrong. It's a prerogative of people to make this comparison, but then there has to be more thought into it before jumping to conclusion, right? So I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done, especially from the Ayurvedic fraternity, to rid the people of these assumptions and presumptions.
Thank you, Doctor. Another country which has its own medical system and has tried to combine it with Western medical education is China, and in their medical training itself, they incorporate elements 3 years of Chinese medicine and then allopathy, or something similar. I know your thoughts on integration are very novel, and I'm sure the audience would like to hear about integrating Ayurveda with modern medicine.
See, there has been talk on integrative medicine. It has been going on for at least a decade now, although it has picked up more speed and momentum in recent times. See, the objective is very noble. That is, we are trying to provide the best to the patient, because no system is perfect. Every system has got its plus and minus, right? And no, there is no single system which can deliver everything, bring cure to all the diseases. Nothing is a panacea for all diseases. So in such a situation, now this is being increased more and more. So which is why, the talk of integrative medicine has picked up more momentum in recent times. But so the objective is very noble, there's no doubt about it, second opinion about it. But I think there is a difference between how integrative medicine is thought of in the West and India. So if you look at the Western countries, there is nothing much called indigenous, systematized indigenous medicine, medical systems. So they talk of CAM, which is complementary and alternative medical systems, which includes, yoga, acupressure, acupuncture, and so on. Okay. So the integrative medicine in the West is different. So they have their mainstream science medicine, and they will try to include either yoga or Ayurveda, yoga or acupuncture, as an add-on to the modern medicine treatment
Agile.
strategy. What does it mean in India is something that we need to think about. We need to deliberate. We need to, kind of discuss, have a lot of discussion on this, because here we have systematized medical systems like, Ayurveda and Siddha. So it has, both of these systems have had unbroken, a practice, clinical practice, spanning over 5,000 years, right? And if something doesn't work, people will not go for it, right? Even if it's an uneducated person, they go to a doctor and they are not cured or of their clinical symptoms or disease, they're not going to go to that system. So something has survived for 5,000 years. It has had an unbroken clinical practice. This is something for people to think about. Why, it has had a unbroken clinical practice. So there are fundamental differences in the way a human system is conceptualized, and understood, and how this understanding has been converted, translated into diagnosis and treatment. So I am actually confused, when we talk of integrative medicine in India, because in India, it is, as I said, the situation is different. We have functioning medical systems. They are a very systematically developed system. Whether people believe it or not, that's a different thing, right? So these two are very systematically developed systems, and there is documentation, there are textbooks, and so on. And as I said, there are fundamental differences. So the way a human system is conceptualized will lead to the understanding, and that understanding will lead to the diagnosis. So there are parameters for diagnosis, right? Based on those diagnostic metrics, treatment is strategized. Now, at which level is the integration going to take place? This is something that I have not been able to comprehend. Maybe it's a limitation of my thought process. I do not know, but this is something that needs to be discussed in great detail. Otherwise, see, where the aim is good, that you provide the best for the patient. One should be careful that the systems should not be diluted, right? So you take something from one system, something from the other system, so you are doing damage to both the systems, right? Of course, here when we talk of integrative medicine, it's always integrating Ayurveda with Western medicine, not the other way.
Good.
Okay, so Ayurveda, without understanding about the science, we should not make Ayurveda play second fiddle to modern medicine. I am making this statement more as a scientist, not as kind of not as emotionally, right? So one should have
Ambassador.
that. There to be a lot of discussion on this, right? And because you see that if you talk to Vaidyas, Ayurvedic Vaidyas who practice classical Ayurveda, uh, they say that they don't they don't require anything from modern medicine. That's what many of them would say. So they would say that it is modern medicine which actually requires something from from Ayurveda, right? So this is what the section of Ayurvedic ideas would say. So there has to be a lot of deliberation on this before we actually go on to integrating the two systems. I have my own doubts on that.
So, right, if you're not looking at integration, what are these aspects which these Vaidyas have mentioned, to which can you tell us some few aspects from which modern medicine can benefit from Ayurveda, and where Ayurveda can take some diagnostic support from modern medicine? Is that something that is possible and required?
It is possible. It is possible. And see, as far as modern medicine is concerned, I think where it will benefit from Ayurveda, there are numerous areas where it can benefit. One is definitely diet and nutrition, because you see that a lot of diseases are coming into the ambit of lifestyle and diet related disorders. So and it is only very recently that modern medicine has has taken cognizance of the importance of diet and lifestyle, and about preventive health and promotive health. Right now, these are areas where Ayurveda is very, very strong. Promotive health, preventive health, diet and nutrition, these are some areas where Ayurveda can really benefit modern medicine. But that said, the problem I would see is that there is a theory that links the use of these to the fundamentals. So, for example, if Ayurveda says that you take turmeric, let's say you take haldi in a particular situation. So, for example, when a person has a wet cough, right? So, as per Ayurveda, you can put turmeric in milk, and then you can take that, right? So it is not a random suggestion. There is a theory. There is a theory based on which turmeric would be of use in a particular situation, or a neem leaf would be of use in a particular situation. So the uses of even the dietary uses, they are all linked to the theories, right? Now these theories depend upon the fundamental understanding that Ayurveda has of the human body. Okay, now you cannot de-link the two. So if modern medicine is going to wants to use the dietary prescriptions from Ayurveda, it has to take it in total. Now that is going to be a problem,
Correct.
because these theories are very alien to the different to the theories that modern medicine has. So while modern medicine can benefit from this, how it is used is going to be a problem. So which is why I feel that there's law it is very important for Ayurvedic fraternity to understand why modern medicine works the way it works, why modern medicine understands the human body the way it understands, and vice versa. It's also very important for the allopathic fraternity to understand, first appreciate that there is a science behind the way that Ayurveda understands the human system, and why the understanding is different. See, ultimately at the end of the day, the human system is just same. The heart is going to beat in the same way whether Ayurvedic doctor looks at it or allopathic doctor looks at it. The digestive system will function the same way, but you have the same system, but you have two different ways of perspectives on it. So what has led to these two different perspectives? If that appreciation is there, then further appreciation and understanding will be easy. This is not happening. So I feel that even the Ayurvedic fraternity do not have a complete appreciation of why Ayurveda looks at it the way it looks at it, and why allopathy looks at it the way it looks at it. So there are some fundamental issues which needs to be addressed, which needs to be sorted out. So there is a kind of handshake between the two systems. See, ultimately both the systems want to bring health and to the patients. Okay, but where the handshake should be, how it should be, is very, very important. So you were also asking, and also there is always a thinking that Ayurveda strength is in preventive medicine, but Ayurveda's strength is also in the treatment, and this is something that is generally missed. So the way Ayurveda has a holistic understanding of the human system. So it takes into account not only the structural aspect, not only the physiological aspects, both these are taken into account in the modern medicine as well. But Ayurveda also takes into account the psychological aspect and the spiritual aspect. So there are various dimensions in the human system. Some of them are gross, like the structural aspect, and some of them are subtle, but still, we are able to appreciate, like the physiological aspects. And then you have the psychological. The subtlest aspect is the domain of consciousness. Okay, so all these are taken into account when Ayurveda had conceptualized the human system, when it has understood the human system. Now, these aspects, the psychological as well as the domain of consciousness, is still not factored in well by modern medicine, although it is working towards it. Now, mental health has become a very big issue, right? So it is now taken the form of an epidemic. And when there is a mental health issue, it is going to affect the physiological domain as well as the structural domain. So there is a lot of mental health interest in mental health issues that modern medicine is beginning to talk about. This is again an area where Ayurveda is way ahead, that compared to modern medicine. So there is a lot that modern medicine will benefit, which is why there is a lot of clamor for integrative medicine, right? See, the clamor for integrative medicine has come from Western medicine, not from Ayurveda. It has come from Western medicine, from the Western countries, because they are now realizing that there are limitations. They are now realizing the importance of mind, the role mind plays in health and disease, right? So the request for integrative medicine has come from the Western medicine, not from Ayurveda. So when you talk of how Ayurveda can benefit from modern medicine, um, it can benefit uh, diagnostics, but again, Ayurveda has got its own diagnostic parameters. So if you call Ayurveda a medical system, it should have some metrics for diagnosis, because at the end of the day, for any medical system, the end point is always the treatment, right? And for treatment you require diagnosis, right? And for diagnosis you need some parameters, right? So if Ayurveda does not have parameters for diagnosis, we cannot call it a medical system as well. We call it a medical system because it has its own diagnostic parameters. Now, the question is whether Ayurveda can use modern diagnostics, right? It has to be, lot of work has to go into it. I have seen, failures where allopathic diagnosis and Ayurvedic treatment is given, right? So and sometimes there is a success where you have allopathic diagnosis and then Ayurvedic treatment, but there are many situations where it doesn't work as well. So this is one area where there has to be lot of research, which are all the diseases where allopathic diagnosis and Ayurvedic treatment is going to be a success, but we cannot use blindly. So otherwise, I look at Ayurveda as a self-standing system, and I work very closely with Ayurvedic Vaidyas who practice. Well, I don't like to use the word pure Ayurveda or classical Ayurveda. They practice Ayurveda the way it should be practiced. Okay. And I see the kind of success that they face. And see, many of these Vaidyas have patients who are given up by modern medicine. So they try everything out in modern medicine, and at the fag end of their life or fag end of the disease, they come to Ayurveda. And I see the way the Ayurvedic Vaidya struggle to treat these patients, and how although it may not be a cure at that stage, that there is a lot of relief. The lifestyle, the quality of life improves. And uh, these Vaidyas will say, we don't require anything from modern medicine. And because they take up cases which are given up by modern medicine. That said, there are also Ayurvedic doctors who will say that there are many things that we can take from modern medicine. So there is a lot of discussion that needs to happen within the Ayurvedic fraternity, between the Vaidyas who say, who work at the grassroots level with patients, and who say we do not require anything from modern medicine, and with the Vaidyas who are more exposed to modern medicine, and who say that we require something from, we can take something from modern medicine. And I think there should be a lot of discussion on that.
What is the role of the change in society, doctor? The patient himself has changed so much. Like we were talking, there is the spirituality is now at a low ebb, especially in urban areas, and dinacharya or ritucharya is absolutely bypassed, and there are other environmental conditions which are not conducive for Ayurveda to work optimally like how it was earlier. So, given changing societal conditions and human attitudes and environmental issues, what can we do to optimize impact of any kind of medicine?
um, well, I think this is a very good question, and a very relevant one as well. But you will be surprised that Ayurveda, the Ayurvedic acharyas, have factored in these. So they have already anticipated these. So there was a awareness at that time itself that the environment is going to degrade. There is going to be increased pollution. They talk about epidemics even in those days, how things are going to deteriorate in future generations, and how even the people, they are not going to have that kind of mental discipline which they had in those days. So all these have been surprisingly thought about thousands of years ago, and which is why Ayurveda has come up with a pragmatic set of theories which can be applied. even in today's time, which is why it's still working. So there are lots of options given, and if see, one has to do this, this, and this, but that is, let's say, dinacharya. But for some reason they are not able to follow. What is the next option? If they are not able to have option one, what is option two? So these have been very interestingly factored in by our Ayurvedic acharyas. And but still, see, which is why awareness is very important. See, at the end of the day, everybody would like to be healthy, right? So the concept, the importance of health has to be instilled from the childhood itself, right? So when people realize that, health is wealth, and without health nothing is going to be possible, and they should be told that, I mean, when we buy a car, let's say, or we buy a TV or some equipment, we take care of it so very carefully, right? We send our car for service. We have to put the right kind of oil there. Every day there is a wash given to the car, and so we take off these dead things, material things so carefully. So people should be told the importance of taking care of themselves, and nothing comes cheap. So if I want to be healthy, I need to put in some effort, right? So these realizations have to be told to the children right from school days. And once they realize, see, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be happy, wants to be healthy. So even if I have a cold today, I cannot be talking the way I'm talking now, right? So that should be there. And these were these dinacharyas and other things, they were already part of our lifestyle. So so it was very easy in those days to follow these, because they were part of our lifestyle. Now our lifestyle has changed, right? So we are neither following our the Indian customs, nor are we following the Western custom. We are somewhere in between, completely confused. So I think it's important to educate people the importance of health. And then Ayurveda can give thousands of advice on how to handle, right? So there is no dearth of information in Ayurveda. There is absolutely no dearth of information. So it is for us to take it. It is for us to take, and depending upon where we live. See, in those days, even the dinacharya and all the dietary practices, it was in sync with the seasons. It was in sync with the area, geographical location we were, the person was living in. Now all these, see, all these are coming up in a big way now, right? So probably now is the time when people are realizing more than ever the importance of health, the importance of a disciplined life. So now, you see people going for walk, going to gym, going, so there is more, people are more conscious of these. So now is the time to educate people, and then bring in more awareness, and tell them, what Ayurveda can offer. And it should be very easy for Indians to get back to this, because this has been part of our traditions. So subconsciously it is always there. So it is that spark which brings it out. And so I think it's not an issue at all for Ayurveda to adapt to the current situation.
There was one report where I read, again, this is with regards to China, doctor. So, that report said that China has successfully overcome the problems of unwanted adulteration, inadvertent contamination of toxic heavy metals and pesticides. They licensed traditional Chinese medicine to a great degree of global acceptance. So this is something that is brought about by naysayers of Ayurveda. So how are we dealing with this?
See, I think a lot of work is being done in this area, in this direction, because everybody understands the importance of it. And if we want Ayurveda to be, accepted, by the society. Safety and the reading it of adulteration, everything is very, very important. So Ministry of Ayush is doing a yeoman service in this, and so there is a pharmacopoeia commission for Indian systems of medicine under Ministry of Ayush, and they have laid down pharmacopoeial standards for use of medicinal plants and formulations and for Indian systems of medicine. And Ministry of Ayush has also taken a lot of several steps to ensure all these. So there are various schemes, regulatory mechanisms in place. There is pharmacovigilance. So there's a lot of work going on. There's a lot of work going on in this. I'm happy to note and
Right.
also say, yeah. But we still have a long way to go. We still have a long way to go.
So I think most of the hard questions are over, but I thought I will include one where Indic Academy last Sunday did a symposium on polymers, Indian knowledge system polymers, and how Indians had this ability because of Sanskritam and their own education to deal with different kinds of knowledge at the same time. So we have geniuses in one field, but we're having expertise in other fields. So in Ayurveda itself, you have Ayurvedic Vaidyas who are also so knowledgeable about plants, also knowledgeable about yoga, also having knowledge in Tantra and its root. So, what was it about the education system of the past which allowed this kind of fertile ground for people to get knowledge in diverse fields? I think
See,
you're also an example of combining, physics and
See, I think these are all mental barriers. See, knowledge is one huge pool, you know, and it is not possible to take in the huge pool, right? So we have created our own little demarcations so that we are able to handle it with our little, mental capabilities. But otherwise, I don't see any demarcation at all, because there is you see mathematics in everything. You see mathematics in biology, you see mathematics in chemistry, physics, and you see the physical laws everywhere, right? So I think these are all probably in those days they were not they did not have the kind of barriers that we have these days. So when you don't have a mental barrier, it is very easy to assimilate things when you have an open mind. So I feel that people in those days had a much more open mind than we have today. People some people may be surprised to hear it, because we generally think people in those days were very dogmatic. I feel that is we see more of it now. So if you have an open mind, I don't think anything is impossible. And if you have a thirst for knowledge, then see, again, now we study not for knowledge. Many of the studies are done for degrees. So when your endpoint is a degree, and then getting a job, or making using that degree to make a livelihood, then the beauty of acquiring knowledge goes, right? So when you study to acquire knowledge, then there is a thirst for knowledge, right? And I think it was the situation was that in those days, and the entire education system was different in those days. I mean, I'm not telling that we should go back to that system, but there are lots of positives. If you look at the kind of contributions our ancestors have done, they are much more than the contributions that Indians are making now, right? So obviously there is a big difference. So also, I mean, those days the teachers were acharyas, they walked the talk, right? So those kind of
absolutely.
acharyas are because they actually make a very big difference to the children, to the students. They look up to the acharya. So now that the whole kind of education system has changed, these are all small nuances in how knowledge is transferred, and how it it is taken a notch up, right? So I think the education system in those days focused on knowledge, and it started off, they also, children did not have any distractions. You look at the distractions these days, right? So so I think, we have far removed from the way in which knowledge was acquired and taught in those days. Yeah. And we hear of
As a sign,
no, we hear of
sorry,
dasha
sorry to
no, no, no. Ashtavadhanis and Dashavadhanis, it's not only knowledge. People who can do 10 different things or 100 different things it's at the same time. So, I think a human brain is, the capacity is immense. So, science says that, we all use less than, I don't know, 2% or 3% of our mental capabilities. So if we are able to open that up, then I think, everything becomes possible. How do you open that up? So I think there are techniques for it. Techniques for it. In those days, we have lost many of them.
and also as a scientist, Dr. You have probably very good skills of observation, and but we have also lost that our connect with the animal world, our connect with the plant world. As society, we have moved away from our native and indigenous civilizations and become more westernized. We have lost connect of seeing all life as having prana. Even inanimate things were seen to have some kind of a life force. So, is that something that the West is now recognizing, but we have lost temporarily?
Um, Yes, I mean, we have not lost it. We have lost touch with it. It is there. It is there, which is why, it is very easy to bring them back. See, Ayurveda itself has, other branches called, Vriksha Ayurveda, which deals with plants, vegetation, and then Mriga Ayurveda, which deals with animals. So modern science is now looking at unified theory which can connect all the living organisms. Now, Ayurveda already has it. So, you might have heard of this, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which are called Tridoshas in Ayurveda. So, these are actually not only concepts, these are theories. So, this is the theory of Tridosha. And so, the same theory deals with plants as well as animals. So you have the same theory of Vata Pitta Kapha dealt with, used in the animal kingdom as well as the vegetation. So, Ayurveda, our acharyas never de-linked the three. So, everything is connected. And now, we are learning it the very hard way. What happens when there is a pollution in the environment, when the food that we eat have pesticides, and when they are not healthy, right? So now we have learned very hard way that we are dynamically interlinked with the environment and also with the animal kingdom. When there is a problem those domains, it's going to affect our health as well. So there is a increasing realization of the importance of all these from the standpoint of Western science, and it is the right time to look into what Ayurveda can offer in these. And I think we should touch base with Ayurveda in a very big way. And my request for our Indians, especially the educated Indians, is to look at Ayurveda in an objective way. Forget for a moment that we are Indians, right? That is where the problem is, because we would like to criticize everything that belongs to our past, either dump it, or we are emotionally attached to it. If we forget for a minute that we are Indians, look at the science as a science in an objective way, devoid of all emotions, then we will see the beauty in the science and what it can offer. And that what it offers is very, very relevant and the need of the hour for the current period.
Thank you so much, Doctor. You've given us so much to think about and also focus on in Ayurveda itself. So we're grateful to you for this conversation and look forward to more interactions with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking, and thank you very much.